So therefore, it cannot refer to the Roman Church, for the church has been in a fallen condition for many centuries. Furthermore, in the 18th chapter of Revelation, the people of God are called upon to come out of Babylon. So Revelation 18 tells us God's people are being called out from Babylon. They are being called out from any Babylonian church, because this Revelation 18 is the final warning. Okay, now let me give you another definitions. We have a lot of definitions regarding Babylon, for Babylon. Okay, what are some of the definitions of Babylon? One of the definition is, okay, one of the definition of Babylon, it says here, any church that is in apostasy is Babylon. That's Christ Subject Lesson 178, paragraph 4, Babylon, the symbol of the apostate church. Second one, any church that is corrupt is Babylon. Babylon must apply to some religious body that was once pure and has become corrupt. A church, any church that is worldly, if the church is worldly, it is Babylon. It says here in Patriarchs and Prophets 124, the term Babylon, which prophecy Revelation 14 verse 8 and Revelation 18 verse 2 applies to world-loving churches of the last days. So if the church is worldly, that is Babylon. And God is actually calling his people out from any Babylonian church. Okay? And another one, number 4, any church that is a harlot is Babylon. A lot of people say that my church is not Babylon, it's just a harlot. But a harlot is Babylon. Okay? It says here in 4SP 233, Babylon is said to be a harlot. And I think a harlot is even worse than the word Babylon, because it is a prostitute, And also, number 5, any church can be a daughter of Babylon if the church sacrifices the truth and the approval of God in order to form an unlawful alliance with the world. And that is actually Great Controversy 382. Okay? It says here, Babylon is said to be the mother of harlots. By her daughters must symbolize churches that cling to her doctrines and traditions and follow her example of sacrificing the truth and the approval of God in order to form an unlawful alliance with the world. So when you sacrifice truth in order to form an unlawful alliance with the world, the church becomes Babylon. Okay, the church becomes Babylon. Also, any denominational or any denominations who are fallen are Babylon. It says here the fallen denominational churches are fallen. That's it. Okay. So when a church becomes Babylon, and after that, when they're being given the now, of course, when the church becomes Babylon, God is going to give them a chance. And how does God give them a chance? God will give them a message of warning. If they reject that warning, then they will become Babylon fallen. So what is the definition of Babylon fallen? It says here, 4SP 424, paragraph 1, in amazement, they hear the testimony that Babylon is the church, fallen because of her errors and sins, because of her rejection of the truth sent to her from heaven. So when the church reject the message of warning given, that church becomes Babylon fallen. That's what happened to the Protestant churches when they rejected the first angel's message. The first angel's message, it was to separate God's people from the Protestant churches who were worldly. But they rejected the message, and so they were being denounced Babylon fallen. So Babylon fallen, so there's a difference between Babylon and Babylon fallen. A church can become Babylon. In other words, the church is still, there's still a hope or a chance. Probation has not closed yet. When a church becomes Babylon, that means probation still open. But when a church becomes Babylon fallen, there is no hope. There's no chance. It means probation closed. The question is, does our church, is still, does our church still has hope? Especially the church that we came from, we will do that as we go on. Okay. Now, what are nations? Remember that this mighty angel comes down. He comes with a message, and it says that all nations have drunk of the wine of her fornication. What are nations actually? So Babylon is actually allowing the nations to drink. So what are nations? Nations are, it says here, churches. So God has a controversy with the churches of today. They are fulfilling the prophecy of John. All nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. They have divorced themselves from God by refusing to receive his sign. So the churches have, it says here, the churches have drunk of the wine. They have divorced themselves from God by refusing to receive their sign. Now, what is the sign of God? What is the sign? What is the mark of God? The seal. Where can you find the seal of God? Only in the fourth commandment, right? Only in the fourth commandment. Because when you talk about the seal, it has the name, the territory, the title, and the territory. God, the Lord God, the creator of the heavens and the earth. So only in the fourth commandment where you can find the seal of God, the seventh-day Sabbath. But it says here, God's people, they have divorced themselves from God by refusing to receive his. They may probably going to church on Saturday, but if they're not keeping it properly, they are refusing to receive his sign. So we need to make sure that we are keeping the Sabbath properly, because if we don't do it, we are actually refusing to receive the sign. It says here, they have not the Spirit of God's true commandment keeping people, and the people of the world in giving their sanction to a false Sabbath, and in trampling under their feet the Sabbath of the Lord, have drunk of the wine of the wrath over fornication. Okay? Now in Isaiah, this is Isaiah 28. So all nations, that means all the churches, there's nothing left. All the churches, no exceptions here, right? No exception, because all nations, all the churches, according to Isaiah, all tables are full of vomit and filthiness, so that there is no place clean. Remember, the table is where you eat. The table is where you are being physically nourished, right? You are being physically nourished in the table. But where are you spiritually nourished? In the churches. In the church, that's where you are spiritually nourished. But it says here, according to Isaiah, all tables are full of vomit and filthiness, so that there is no place clean. Whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? It says here, them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. So the only way that God can teach us knowledge is when we are being weaned, when we are being disconnected from the breast. And the breast is connected to the mother church. If we have to get out of that, if we disconnect ourselves from the mother church, then God can teach us knowledge. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people, to whom he said, this is the rest wherewith ye may cause the weary to rest. This is the refreshing. See, Christ is the rest. He is the refreshing. But it says here, yet they would not hear. Why? They disagree with the word. They disagree with the message. They don't like the message. They like Christ. They want Christ, but they just don't like the message being brought by Christ. And that's why they would not hear. Okay? Now, why is it that a lot of people don't like to hear a message about Babylon? Okay? Why they don't like to hear a message like Babylon? You know why? According to 2 Timothy 4:3 and 4, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth and shall be turned into fables. So the reason why they don't like to hear that kind of message, because they have itching ears. Okay? They have ears, according to Ezekiel. Son of man, thou dwellest in the midst of a rebellious house, which have eyes to see and see not. They have ears to hear and hear not, for they are a rebellious house. Matthew 13:9-13. Why Christ was speaking speaking unto them in parables. It says here, who hath ears to hear, let him hear. And the disciples came and said unto him, why speakest thou unto them in parables? He answered and said unto them, because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given. For whosoever hath, to him shall be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away even that he hath. The truth that we have, if we don't practice it, the truth will be taken away from us. So make sure that we hang on to the truth, because if we don't practice it, it will just be taken away. Therefore speak I to them in parables, because they seeing not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand. Okay? Now, if we are not able to hear the kind of message that is very straight and and hard message, then we are not ready for the time of trouble yet. It says here, if those who have been in the church for weeks and months, and it says here, have not learned the straightness of the way and what it is to be Christians, and cannot hear all the straight truths of the Word of God, it were better that they were cut off from Israel. It is too late in the day to feed with milk. It is too late to be drinking milk. We need hard food. That's what we need. Okay? If souls a month or two old in the truth, who are about to enter the time of trouble, such as never was, cannot hear all the straight truth, or endure the strong meat of the straightness of the way, how will they stand in the day of battle? Truths that we have been years learning must be learned in a few months by those who now embrace the third angel's message. We have been given this message long enough, and we have to make sure that we have to study it and we have to embrace it. And we don't want to be allergic to the meat, to the strong message. A lot of people think, no, just give us an easy message, a smooth message. And that's what they're getting actually. And that's what they're preaching also in the churches. They want some easy and smooth. No, but we need hard food so that we can be straightened, We can be straightened, and that our lives will be changed. Now, where are God's people to be found today? Okay. Where are they being found today? According to Greek controversy, notwithstanding the spiritual darkness and alienation from God that exists in the churches, which constitute Babylon,